My name is Daniel Levi. I am 32 years old now, but the events I am about to share happened on May 14, 2019. That was the day my brother and I were arrested in Iran for preaching about Jesus. What began as a simple journey of faith slowly turned into days of suffering, imprisonment, and persecution that tested everything we believed. I was born in a small town in Haifa, a beautiful place by the sea in Israel. My family was known for their strong Christian faith. My father worked as a mechanic who repaired boats at the harbor, and my mother was a school teacher who loved helping children learn how to read and write. Our home was not rich with money, but it was rich with faith, prayer, and kindness. My brother Samuel is 2 years younger than me. From childhood, we were very close. We shared the same room, went to the same church, and helped our parents with small tasks at home. My mother showed us stories from the Bible, and she explained to us that faith sometimes requires courage. She revealed to us that many believers in history suffered for what they believed, but their faith never died. Growing up, I loved reading and learning. I attended a local public school in Haifa and later studied history at a small college in northern Israel. Education was important in our home. My father showed me that knowledge helps a person understand the world, but faith helps a person survive it. Samuel chose a different path. He studied social work because he wanted to help people who were struggling in life. He often told me that many people around the world feel lost and need hope. He explained to me that sharing faith with them could change their lives. Our daily life was simple and peaceful. In the mornings, my father left early for the harbor. My mother prepared breakfast before going to the school where she taught young children. Samuel and I helped with chores before going to work or study. In the evenings, we usually gathered at the table, shared food, and prayed together. But over time, something started to grow inside my heart. I began to feel a strong calling to share the message of Jesus outside our country. I started reading stories about Christians in difficult places. Many of them faced danger simply for speaking about their faith. One day, a missionary who visited our church showed us reports about believers living secretly in Iran. He explained that many people there were curious about Christianity but were afraid to speak openly about it. He revealed that some believers met quietly in homes because public worship could bring serious punishment. That information stayed in my mind for many weeks. Later, Samuel approached me with something surprising. He explained that he had been thinking about traveling to Iran to help underground Christian groups. He showed me messages from believers who needed encouragement and teaching. At first, I felt fear. Iran was known for strict laws about religion. Many people warned that preaching about Jesus there could lead to arrest, prison, or worse. Some stories spoke about believers being beaten or tortured because they refused to deny their faith. But Samuel remained calm. He explained to me that faith is not only meant for comfortable places. He explained that sometimes faith leads a person into dangerous places where hope is needed the most. For several months, we prayed and thought carefully about the decision. My parents were worried when they heard our plan. My mother showed deep concern in her eyes, and my father spoke with a heavy voice. He explained that the world can be cruel to those who stand for what they believe. Still, they also knew the faith they had taught us since childhood. Finally, they gave us their blessing. In early 2019, Samuel and I prepared for the journey. We packed very few belongings, mostly clothes, small notebooks, and copies of the Bible translated into different languages. We believed we were going to help people find hope. We did not know we were walking straight into persecution. The day we crossed into Iran, the air itself felt different. The cities were crowded and busy, but there was also a quiet tension everywhere. We moved carefully, meeting believers secretly in homes and small gatherings. For several weeks, everything seemed peaceful, but someone was watching us. One evening, after finishing a small meeting where we shared the message of Jesus with a few young people, loud knocks suddenly struck the door. Heavy boots filled the hallway. Men with hard faces and dark uniforms rushed inside. Samuel looked at me with fear in his eyes. That was the moment our lives changed forever, and it was only the beginning of the suffering that awaited us. Everything happened so quickly. The door burst open. Men in uniform rushed inside. Their boots hit the floor hard. One of them grabbed my arm tightly. Another pushed my brother, Samuel, against the wall. I could hear the fear in his breathing. My heart was beating so loud that I thought everyone could hear it. They searched the room. They found the Bibles. One officer lifted the book high in his hand. He showed it to the others as if it was something dangerous. He told me that spreading this message in their country was against the law. Another man revealed to me that we were under arrest for preaching about Jesus. They tied my hands behind my back with cold metal cuffs. The metal was tight. It pressed into my skin. I felt pain in my wrists as they pushed me outside. The night air was cold, but the fear inside me was colder. They separated me from Samuel. That moment hurt more than the handcuffs. I watched them drag him toward another vehicle. He looked back at me. His eyes were full of fear, but also faith. I did not know when I would see him again. Inside the van, it was dark and smelled of sweat and metal. The vehicle moved fast. I tried to pray, but my thoughts were confused. I kept asking myself if I had made a mistake by coming here. When we arrived at the prison, they removed the blindfold from my eyes. The building looked old and gray. The walls were tall. The air felt heavy. A guard pushed me forward down a narrow hallway. The cell door opened. The room was small. The floor was hard concrete. There was no bed, only a thin, dirty mat in the corner. A weak light hung from the ceiling. The air smelled damp. I could see stains on the wall. I knew other prisoners had suffered there before me. The guard removed my cuffs and pointed to the floor. He showed me that this would be my place. The first night was the hardest. I sat on the cold floor with my back against the wall. I could hear distant cries from other cells. Some voices sounded angry. Some sounded broken. I did not know if Samuel was somewhere in the same building. The next morning they came for me. 2 officers took me into a small room with a metal table. They made me sit. One of them placed the Bible on the table. He told me that I could avoid serious punishment if I denied my faith and signed a paper. He showed me a document written in their language. I felt fear. My hands were shaking. I remembered my mother teaching me about courage. I remembered my father explaining that faith sometimes costs something. I told them I could not deny what I believed. Their faces changed. The questioning became harsher. They accused me of trying to change their culture. They said I was bringing a foreign religion into their land. One of them struck the table hard with his fist. Another pushed my shoulder violently. When I still refused to deny my faith, the punishment began. They hit me across the face. The force made my head turn sharply. My cheek burned. I tasted blood in my mouth. They kicked my legs, and I fell to the ground. The floor was cold against my skin. They told me this would continue until I agreed to stop preaching. I felt pain in my ribs. Each breath became difficult. My body was weak, but inside me something refused to break. They returned me to my cell. Days passed without proper food. Sometimes they gave me a small piece of bread and a cup of water. My stomach hurt from hunger. My lips became dry and cracked. My body felt light and weak. One night a guard opened the cell door quietly. He looked at me for a long moment. He told me that young men like me should not waste their lives for religion. He revealed to me that prison could become worse if I did not cooperate. His words were meant to scare me, and they did. I was afraid of what could happen next. I was afraid of more beatings. I was afraid of disappearing without anyone knowing. But what hurt most was not knowing about Samuel. Was he alive? Was he being hurt like me? In the silence of the night, I pressed my face to the cold floor and prayed. I asked God to protect my brother. I asked for strength. I asked for courage to endure persecution. The next interrogation was worse. They tied my hands above my head to a metal bar. My feet barely touched the ground. The position caused sharp pain in my shoulders. After some time, my arms felt like they were tearing apart. They questioned me again about our meetings and about the people who attended. I refused to give names. One officer struck my stomach. The air left my lungs. I could not breathe for several seconds. My body shook from pain. I felt small and helpless. This was persecution, not just words, not just threats, real pain, real hunger, real fear. Days turned into a blur of cold floors, harsh voices, and lonely nights. My body became thinner. My face had bruises. My spirit was tested again and again. But deep inside, my faith remained alive. I did not know then that even greater suffering was coming, and I did not know that the worst part of our persecution was still ahead. After many days in the cell, the guards came for me again. This time, their faces were harder, their steps were faster. I felt something serious was about to happen. They blindfolded me and tied my hands tightly. The rope cut into my skin. I was pushed forward, stumbling as I walked. I could feel the ground change beneath my feet. The air became colder. I heard wind moving freely, not trapped like it was inside the prison. When they removed the blindfold, I saw an open area outside the prison walls. The sky was gray. The wind was strong. In front of me were 2 wooden beams fixed upright in the ground. My heart began to race. I saw Samuel. He was already there. His face was swollen. His lips were dry and cracked. His shirt was torn. He looked weaker than I had ever seen him, but when our eyes met, I saw that he was still alive. An officer stepped forward and explained to us that this was our punishment for preaching Jesus. He showed us the wooden beams and made it clear that we would hang there as a warning to others. They forced my arms open. Rough ropes were wrapped tightly around my wrists and tied to the wood. The rope burned against my skin. My shoulders stretched painfully. My feet barely touched the small block beneath me. The cold wind hit my body again and again. They left us there. The first hour felt long. My arms began to ache deeply. My shoulders felt like they were tearing apart. The rope rubbed against my skin each time I moved slightly. I tried to shift my weight, but every movement caused more pain. The sun went down slowly. The night became freezing. I had no jacket. My thin prison clothes were not enough. My teeth began to shake from the cold. My fingers felt numb. I could not feel my toes. There was no food, no water. My mouth became dry. My tongue felt heavy. My throat burned when I tried to swallow. I could hear Samuel breathing heavily beside me. He sounded weak. On the 3rd day, my body started to feel strange. My head felt light. My vision blurred sometimes. Flies landed on my face, and I did not even have the strength to move them away. Some guards came to look at us. They laughed. One of them pointed at us and showed others as if we were an example. He revealed that this would teach people not to follow our path. The sun during the day burned my skin. The cold at night froze my bones. My muscles cramped. My back felt like it was on fire. I tried to pray, but even thinking felt difficult. On the fourth day, I felt my strength leaving me. My legs trembled badly. I had to push myself up with my feet to relieve the pressure on my arms, but my legs were weak. When I could not push any more, my full weight pulled down on my shoulders. The pain was sharp and deep. I thought about my parents. I imagined my mother crying if she knew where I was. I imagined my father standing silently, trying to be strong. The thought made tears fall from my eyes, but even crying took energy. Samuel tried to lift his head toward me. He could barely move. His voice was faint. He told me that we must hold on. He revealed that our suffering had meaning, even if we did not understand it now. On the fourth day, my lips were bleeding from dryness. My body felt empty. I began to drift in and out of awareness. Sometimes I heard voices clearly. Sometimes everything sounded far away. The guards returned again. One of them told me that this could end if I simply denied Jesus. He showed me water in a bottle. He moved it close enough for me to see the drops inside. My throat felt like it was burning with fire. I was tempted. My body wanted relief, but inside, my heart would not allow me to give up. I shook my head slowly. The guard stepped back with anger. He left us again in the cold wind. That night was the hardest. The temperature dropped even lower. I could not feel my fingers anymore. My breathing was shallow. My chest hurt with every small movement. I truly believed I would die there. On the fifth morning, the sky looked pale. My eyes were half closed. I could barely lift my head. I felt my body giving up. But something inside me still whispered hope. I was still hanging on the wooden beam. My arms felt like they were no longer part of my body. My shoulders burned with deep pain. My wrists were swollen where the ropes held me tight. The skin there was torn and red. Every small movement sent pain through my chest. My lips were cracked. When I tried to swallow, nothing moved. My tongue felt heavy and dry. I had not eaten. I had not drunk water. My stomach had stopped crying for food. It felt empty and quiet. The sun rose slowly that morning. Its light touched my face, but it did not bring warmth. I heard Samuel breathing beside me. His breath was slow and uneven. I turned my head with great effort. His head was bent forward. His body looked lifeless. Fear entered my heart. I tried to speak his name, but my voice came out weak and broken. He slowly lifted his head. His eyes were swollen, but he was still alive. That small movement gave me strength. After some time, I saw guards walking toward us. Their boots crushed the dry ground. One of them looked at us carefully. He showed the others our weak bodies. He revealed that we had survived longer than they expected. Another guard stepped closer to me. He told me that this was my last chance. He explained that if I denied my faith, everything would stop. He showed me again that simple choice between freedom and suffering. My body wanted relief. My mind felt confused, but inside my heart there was still faith. I slowly moved my head to show that I could not deny what I believed. I did not have strength for long words. Even shaking my head caused pain in my neck. The guard stepped back with anger. He left me there again. Hours passed. The sun became hotter. My skin felt burned. I could see small cuts on my arms where the rope had rubbed for days. Flies landed on my wounds. I could not lift my hands to push them away. I felt shame, pain, and helplessness all at once. My thoughts began to fade in and out. Sometimes I saw the prison yard clearly. Sometimes everything looked bright and blurry. I thought about my mother's kitchen in Haifa. I imagined the smell of bread. I imagined sitting at the family table. Those simple memories felt far away. Then something changed. In the afternoon, I noticed unusual movement. More officers arrived. A man who looked higher in rank came forward. He studied us carefully. He spoke with the other guards in a serious way. I could not hear everything, but I saw their faces change. Later, I learned that pressure had come from outside. News about our arrest had spread quietly. Some international groups had started asking questions. The officers realized that letting us die like that could bring attention they did not want. The senior officer walked closer to me. He looked directly at my face. He examined my wounds. He saw how weak I had become. He told the others to bring us down. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Then I felt hands touching the ropes. The tight pressure on my wrists loosened. My body suddenly dropped forward. If 2 guards had not held me, I would have fallen to the ground. My legs could not carry my weight. They felt like empty sticks. When my feet touched the ground fully, sharp pain rushed through my shoulders and arms. I cried out without planning to. The blood began to move again in my arms, and the pain was almost unbearable. They placed me on the ground. The earth felt rough but solid. I lay there, breathing heavily. I looked to my side and saw